Hi, everybody. My name is Larry Inks. I'm in the Department of Management and Human Resources. And like a lot of folks, we're putting together some short videos to help deal with different aspects and provide some tips and suggestions for different aspects of online learning. I had some thoughts on exams, especially exams that have content that's more qualitative as opposed to quantitative in nature. So I wanted to share those with you. I think the best source of information probably is us talking with each other, sharing information with our peers and looking for best practice, but just some thoughts just to kind of get the semester kind of kicked off. First, there is some solid technology options that we've got out there. You know, certainly you can use Carmen. You might have already used that. You might have used Proctorio. You might have heard about that. Proctorio is a bit of software that will shut down a server, will lock a server so that a student is not able to search the web while they're taking the exam. It also requires a camera, but it will track the students' eye movements and make sure that they're not deviating, looking away from the screen or not talking with other people. And it wasn't quite ready, I don't think, for scaling large classes in the spring, but evidently it's going to be ready in the fall. So Randy Spear is a great person to talk to about Carmen exams and how to make that work. Megan Troyer is a great person, evidently the guru on Proctorio. Talk with those folks. Again, some just thoughts on my part. I think it's really important. I had 5 classes in the spring that all went online. Keep the exam, if at all possible, keep the exam date and time consistent. Some people like having a 2-day period during which somebody could take the exam. I found what worked pretty well is to say, here's the exam time. It's going to go from here to here, and everybody needs to take it at that time. Keep that consistent if you can, but remember time zone differences, including not just West Coast, but also other countries as well. So that's something to think about. You might need to make some allowances. I also think it's really important to make sure there's no surprises with or for students. So let them know early on and often. Remind them about the exam day and time for your exams, and also the technology that's needed. So if you need to have a camera for Proctorio, for example, let them know that. I think it's a good idea to have them test the technology ahead of time. You could certainly give a little short 5-item sample test that's not graded, but you give it on Proctorio at a certain time and make sure they can get on and test the technology and makes it work. And also set the expectation that they will notify you ahead of time. So test the technology, let me know ahead of time if there's a problem, and we can try to work something out. It's much better to find that out then as opposed to getting 25 emails 10 minutes after the exam period starts. In terms of exam construction, now this is related to more qualitative exams. The courses I teach deal with leadership and talent management, organizational behavior, human resources. So not a lot of formula type questions, but a lot of content or qualitative questions. I think you could shorten it and say, well, I'm going to have a shorter amount of time, and that's going to push them a little bit so that they're not even tempted to try to look on the book. And in fact, in the spring, by definition, the exams pretty much had to be open book. I found that it's best to keep the exam time normal, but add some additional context to the questions. So consider maybe adding some detail, something that makes them a more rich question that gives them more time to read, or it takes more time to read and also to think about. I also found that, again, when the assumption was it was going to almost have to be open book and we didn't have Proctorio, somebody could be on the phone with their friend, and I used consistent names. So I used the same name, maybe it's the AAA Corporation when I would talk about a company, or I would talk about Susan and Tom, or Han and Susan, or whatever it would be for names. And that way, if somebody says, well, this question's about Han, well, there's 25 questions that have Han in it. If you do have to give same set or different sections of the same course an exam at different times, alternate the items. This is something that you probably do anyway, but maybe keep the item that you've got or keep the response options, but make it so that the correct answer is a different one of the response options than before. And if you're concerned about open book and kind of glossary thing, consider the order response options. Maybe if you think they're just going to go through and search, then you might have it the 4th or 5th option on the multiple choice things. Regardless of technology, students should prep as if it were closed book. Make sure students are aware of your expectations regarding academic integrity up front. Make sure they're aware of that. No dissemination of items is allowed. And most importantly, probably start working on your exams as soon as possible. Don't wait. Talk with Randy Spears, Megan Troyer as soon as you can to get an idea about what they need from you to make this work. And do all these things, just some thoughts. Please talk with me if you have any questions, and good luck.